Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Welcome once again to your time to talk. I
hello.
am Rafael. Here we have Guilherme, your usual host, and today we have a super special guest. Pablo is here with us. Hi, Pablo. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Sweating.
Yeah, it is a bit sticky in London at the moment.
Yeah.
Uh, so, This is a super special day because we have someone new with us. But before we dive in, what are we doing here? Time to talk. Time to talk happens every 2 weeks, and the idea is to open a channel for conversation, debate, chat, whatever, about any topics related to mediumship. Um, and today is our episode 26, which, by the way, next episode will be the 1 year anniversary of this initiative. So, wow, look how far we've come. Um, anyways, what is behind Time to Talk? What are the institutions behind Time to Talk? As usual, I'm just going to go through them quickly. First of all, SSL, Spiritist Society of London. The three of us are part of SSL. SSL is dedicated to studying Spiritism, the philosophy, spreading the word. We have a couple of sessions, one virtual every Tuesday, and you're happy to join us, and one face to face on Thursdays. So if you'd like to know more about it, just go on the Facebook page, like the Facebook page, and you can get details there. SSL is associated to BUS, it's affiliated to BUS. BUS is the British Union of Spiritist Societies, and it works as a federation for the Spiritist societies here in the UK. Last but not least, Kardec Radio, which has been around over 10 years now, which is super dedicated to spreading the word about Spiritism and in English. I think it has other languages as well, but there's a lot of material within Kardec Radio. So if you go there, like their page, same thing, go to the Buzz YouTube channel and Facebook, like their follow them, subscribe, so you can get all of the updates of what is going on. So today we have a very interesting topic. I am going to make a dad joke, and I'm going to say I'm obsessed by this topic. I am obsessed by this topic, which is, am I being obsessed by spirits? And I am going to go straight in and ask Pablo, you suggested this topic. Why did you suggest this topic?
Um, because I can only imagine how curious it must be to a lot of people about this, and how unaware people must be of the influence of spirits that we have in our everyday life. And it could be good influence, or it could be bad influence. So I think it's very healthy to address the subject and to clarify to people um, what is obsession, because we use this word in our ordinary life. Oh, I'm obsessed with that singer. I'm obsessed with the new jeans trousers, or I'm obsessed with this or that. And but how this word is applied to spiritism and to our spiritual life, and what are what does this mean, and what are the consequences for our lives when we are living under obsession. So that's why I thought it was interesting to bring this topic to discuss.
That's great. I think we're starting to get some spoilers already because let me see the comments here. Elsa, first of all, is saying hello to all of us. Hi, Elsa. As usual, it's very nice to have you with us. I can also see Ebony. Hi, Ebony. Nice to see you. Also, Faye. Good evening, Faye. And Elsa already threw in. Obsession means spiritual attachment. Um, but before I think we go in that definition from a spiritualist perspective, because it is such a common word that you use every day now, as you said, it's a slang, right? I started with a joke, but I use this word all the time. I mean, I use this word all the time in a non-spiritual context, of course. And before we get, I think I want to actually bring the definition of the word because I think it will be a good starting point for our conversations. So, here, what does obsession mean? The state of being obsessed with someone or something. Okay, it doesn't explain much yet. But then it goes on and says, an idea or thought that continually preoccupies or intrudes on a person's mind.
Mm.
I think from the definition, you can start already realize what Elsa was saying. Because I think based on everything we've discussed here, you always talk about the influence of spirits and so on, and how we need to be careful about their influence. Um, you start to understand like what do you mean by that then? Obsession is an idea that's constantly in your mind, either intruding or making you worried or just taking your attention to that specific idea, developing an idea in your mind and so on, giving a suggestion um, in a repetitive, intrusive way. But Pablo, okay, I'm gonna go away. You said that when you suggested that we talked about this, go back to the other moment. You also said it would be good to talk about different concepts linked to obsession, and you mentioned fascination, subjugation, and same thing. I think before we go to these big words,
Yes.
um, why do you think it's important to bring this topic, and especially around those distinctions?
I think that knowledge is power. So uh, we should not be afraid of knowledge because knowledge sets us free in a point that we don't treat that as something that is mystical or it's out of reach or it's happening to someone that is far from me or it will never happen to me because I'm a good person or because I pray every day or because I go to the church or and myself I've been questioning myself several times. Oh, am I under obsession? What's happening in my life in this moment? Is it because of someone else that it's trying to interfere in my life? Or and I've been through these doubts and thoughts several different opportunities throughout my life, and uh, we study and we try to get to the center of the question, but I don't think this is something that it's as easy to just point and say, "Oh, you've been a victim of obsession." So I think it's, as I said before, I think it's healthy to bring the subject to discussion, to bring light to the subject, and to make it a bit more, let's put it like this, easy. Let's to
Yeah,
make it easier for people,
accessible. Yeah.
um, yeah, to deal with it.
Okay. Guilherme, I want to go to you. And I am leaving my talk show moment right now between the two of you, right? Um, the Where do you see the importance of talking about obsession and bringing clarity in terms of what it means and what's behind it and different types and so on?
Rafael, today, even the medicine the doctors now talk about obsession. In Brazil, this is part of the medical catalog of diseases, CID. And I learned recently, a week ago, that is also part here abroad. So we are not only talking about something within the Spiritism boundaries anymore, because this is something very natural as well. We all may have this during our lifetime. So we need to demystify what an obsession is. We need to understand the mechanism. We need to understand how to deal with, and how can we protect ourselves, or at least minimize the effects of a case with us or with our loved ones. So I think, and I'm pretty sure I'm thinking about my wife here because she does not agree with me, but I think it's one of the topics that every single Spiritist center, every single Spiritist should be aware of. They should study about it. Mediums that participate on the mediumship meetings, to me, this is a must. Indoctrinators, this is a must. There's no way around it. But, as I said, this is my opinion. And this is just the beginning.
You touched a good point, which is actually both of your answers, you Guilherme and you Pablo combined, they touch a good point, which is we bring topics here every couple of weeks, and we start to understand a bit more the mechanism around mediumship and how spirits communicate and influence one another through the perispirit, how that affects your body, and so on. So when you start reading and studying about obsession, you start to put in place that basic knowledge of the mechanism around things, the mechanism around how we interact from a spiritual perspective with one another, and the consequences and issues that can come from that. So I like that both of you are mentioning something that's, I think they link very well when it becomes something practical. It's like a practical element of our day-to-day life that can derail because of how things work. And knowing about it gives us ammunition to be better prepared to deal with it, to avoid it, to heal, or heal is probably not the right word, but to address it, to fix it. So, very well.
Let me start giving food for thought here so you guys can help me out as well. We need to remember that the amount of spirits that are discarnated are approximately 7 to 1 in comparison with the incarnated spirits. We all are under some level of influences of the spirits, good or bad spirits, but we all are eventually, through the day, under some sort of influence of the spirits. Intuition, a little bit of shivering when I'm going on this place, a bad thought when I come closer to that person, or an ecstasy when I'm coming closer to another person, or even when I'm alone. Whoops. I could swear there was someone here with me. A little bit of shivering, a little bit of wind, like, you know. We are almost 24/7 under some sort of influence from the spiritual world. Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll stop here. So I'll let you guys help me out as well. So then we can continue.
Yeah, one thing that I think it would be interesting to put on the table is that we know that not everyone is an ostensive medium. So, uh, like I have to talk about myself because, well,
Okay.
I know my history. So I never had like anything like, oh, I felt a spirit or I saw or I never. Um, so I think that uh, a lot of people can relate to that. Say, oh, well, I never felt that. I've never seen anything. I never. So I don't think this is something that is happening or could happen because I cannot touch it. I cannot, assure that this is something that is happening. So, um, but I study and I know that it happens. And I think we have other ways to address this as being true, rather than, oh, because I saw a spirit or because I heard or because I felt a wind or something. So I never had any kind of these experiences in my life, and I know that we are under influence of.
Are you gonna tell? Who is gonna tell him? Who is gonna tell him?
No.
Someone has to tell him. You tell him, Guilherme.
No.
You tell him.
I almost said yet twice already when he was talking. I'll address that later. No worries. What came to my mind was something very interesting as well. You may don't feel anything, you may don't know anything. The great majority of people on earth will not feel anything, will not see spirits, anything like that. But they have the repercussion of an obsession case or an influence, to the point that the medical association to consider this as a disease has become so loud that they have to do something about it. Historically, they would deny anything related with the spiritual world, with any religion, with any philosophy. They would deny that. But this is so loud right now, so many cases booming, that they had to accept. So, yeah, you don't need to feel anything. You don't need to see anything. Science, the medicine is coming with us now saying it does exist, right? I cannot deny that anymore. So you don't need to see anything to have the results of it. So hopefully we have time to address that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I think that something I could not miss.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But I would say something else also, Pablo. Just because you don't see it or you think you don't feel a presence, it doesn't mean that you are not feeling a presence. You might not just identify it yet that the a specific way you wake up, you went to bed, you were doing so well, you were just very happy, and then you woke up, it was just like absolute downer, no mood for anything, couldn't get energy and so on. It might as well be something that you carry, bringing from your night of freedom, let's say, or even sometimes when you are focused on something and all of a sudden something else kind of catches your mind and you react to that in a way that you lose energy, lose interest. I don't know. I'm only doing negative examples that could be related to the influence of spirits, right? I'm not saying they all are, but they could be. So what I would say to you is, maybe you don't realize, but you do feel the presence of spirits. You don't realize yet, but you do feel them. And especially if we go back to the definition of obsession, right? The definition of obsession starts with that connection of thoughts, right? Where a spirit that is constantly connected to you, and it might be based on so many different reasons. It might be because of issues they have in the past that they didn't let go, or they're seeking vengeance and so on. They don't want to forget or forgive yet. It might be just a spirit that is a bit that doesn't have anything to do, is a bit loose around, not doing anything, but liked to do something when they were alive, and they identify in you someone that they can go back and relive those experiences, whatever they might be. It might be a habit that you have that they miss and they used to like, and they come in, they come closer, and they feed into the habit in terms of like giving you the ideas. Oh, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, and then it becomes a repetition. They live through that, and so on. So, but in any case, there's a big element, a big part that plays a role here, which is, to a certain extent, we allow it to happen through our habits, through our thoughts, um, through our lack of care, let's say, in what we do and how we think. I will let you guys comment. There's a lot of comments here. I want to bring them up.
And
I'll let Guilherme go first because he's itching to say something. Go, Guilherme.
yeah. I can see that this topic is very interesting, right? On the beginning of our conversation, we briefly mentioned possession until few other things, right? But let's ignore all of it. I think we have enough to discuss about influences and obsession cases. That will be better. We won't be able to achieve what we want if we try to talk about all of it. So, in an obsession case, we have several degrees. A very mild influence, a very mild obsession case, a very mild-ish increasing the level, another one increasing a little bit, to the point that we are really in trouble, right? So Rafael said something about thoughts, right? And our thoughts, they allow some of the spirits that vibrate in the same
frequency
thought. I'm trying to choose a good word here, right? And the same thought like we have, they will come closer, right? But this is more like an influence. At that particular moment, because I'm vibrating X, a spirit that is vibrating X come closer. He had no attachment to you. He had no past history with you. He may evolve to something else. If you like to drink a lot, and he also liked to drink a lot, you may start a process together and may evolve to what we would call an obsession case. But when we talk about obsession, we are talking about brothers and sisters that were together before. They loved each one. They were friends. They had a common life in the past, and that past could be in this present incarnation, this present life, or before. So we have those two situations here, right? So which one do you guys want to talk?
Let's talk about the second one. Like
I think
that's
really
probably the most common one, they can become problematic. So, to be honest, I think they can become problematic. Sorry.
Go on, Pablo. You want to say something?
Oh, I think like when you say like brothers and sisters, this is something that could sound shocking to people because say, wow, but if we had like a loving relationship, we were, let's say, siblings or really good friends, how can love turn into hate? So this is something that could come across as incongruent to people.
Yeah. But within my experience, with the practice I had on mediumship meetings, the most complicated cases of obsession started with the strongest case of love and trust. And somewhere along the line, one of the partners broke that trust or broke that love. It doesn't need to be like a couple. Could be brothers, could be father and son. Could doesn't need to, when I'm talking about love, I'm not talking about
Yeah.
love in the sense of a marriage couple,
Yeah.
right? And the strongest case are the cases where the love was also very strong. So how can that change? We are not perfect, are we? We are married. Sometimes we decide to cheat our partner. Sometimes we decide to cheat our partner in business. Sometimes we decide to cheat our kids. We try to remove something they think they have the right, and then everything starts. We cannot predict how someone else will react from what I do, from my actions. I may love my wife for 70 years. One day, I may say something or I may do something that may change. And we loved each other for 70 years. But in the end, I did something very stupid. And that was it. That was it. Then the problem starts.
Yeah.
You're making me think of an example. Um, it was a bit of an extreme example. There's a book from Ivone do Amaral Pereira, and she's a medium. She received a lot of messages, a lot of books through psychography. And one of her books is called Memories of Mediumship or something like that. I'm not sure there's like an English version yet. And in the final chapter of that book, she shares a few examples of um, very dramatic cases of obsession. And one of the cases she describes, there's this woman um, that she was like in her early 20s, and she just got married. And the day after she got married, she started to tell that she started to feel a presence of a man when she went to bed. And when that man was around, she felt like her whole body was tightened with ropes, and she couldn't really move. Um, and that was getting worse and worse and worse, to the point that she was bedbound. She couldn't do anything. She could barely walk. Her arms were tight and rigid. So she needed help to eat. She needed help to do everything. And the family decided finally to take her, after, of course, seeing a lot of doctors and trying to understand what was happening. The family decided to take her to a spiritist center to see if there was anything from a spiritual perspective that was happening. And then the spiritual center understood the case. And I think, without going into much detail, that was caused by a husband from a previous life. They were very close. They loved each other very much. They were very possessive of one another. Um, and in a previous life, she betrayed his trust. And after that happened, when once both of them were in a spiritual life, they were still very connected to one another. They promised to one another being faithful and being together and so on. But of course, she came again into a new reincarnation, new body, a new story. And then, based on that new experience, incarnated, she got married again. And the husband was taking that as another betrayal, even though there's all of this context behind. And because of how she felt as well, because even though she wasn't conscious about the whole story from the previous lives, she still felt the remorse and the guilt from her previous relationship in what was going on. And she allowed that influence to grow based on that. And so, again, just as an example, it's a bit of an extreme case, but an example of a relationship that started with love and respect and so on, and then they derailed, and then it became more critical, and then it evolved to something that is not positive, let's say.
Rafael, I see some questions. And
Okay.
I see a potential to elaborate upon those questions. Shall we?
Yes. Yes.
We have a question from Ebony. Hi, Ebony. How do I know if I am obsessing someone here or there? I do not want to be an obsessing spirit, and I don't know it.
Mm.
Well, very interesting question. It does give a lot of food for thought.
I love, first of all, I love that perspective of we're so used to seeing the role of the victim, right? It's just the automatic response to everything we do. So I love this because it already puts us in another perspective. So
Mhm.
thank you, Ebony.
How do I know if I'm obsessing someone? That's not very difficult to know. Let's be honest, right? If you are doing something that do not please the person we are talking about, depending on the intensity of what we are doing, we are worse than the spirits. If we are there just to irritate the person all day long, if we are doing things constantly to piss off that person, if you are doing things that as a consequence this person will suffer, and we do that every week, and then after, because we are not happy enough to do that every week, we decide to do every day, yes, we are obsessing a person. We can do that face to face, we can do that from distance, even by thought. If I am thinking about harm someone day and day, day and day, I am obsessing that person. Because when I think, I create energy. That energy will follow my thoughts, will follow my directions, and that person will receive that energy. So, yes, we can obsess people. We can obsess ourselves as well, not only people, right? So, don't do to others what you don't want people to do to you. Someone told us that more than 2,000 years ago. So basically, simple like that. Don't think about something you don't like someone to think about you. Don't do anything to someone that you don't want people to do to you. And then I would say that if you are able to follow that instruction from Jesus, you're already pretty good, to be honest. And I don't want to be an obsessing spirit and don't know it. Now you know it. So now, basically, be vigilant. Be vigilant in your thoughts. Be vigilant with your actions. And
Uh,
something that, yeah, go on.
Guilherme, uh, based on what you're saying about we obsessing people, would you put under this umbrella bullying as an obsessive behavior?
Can be, can be, depending of intensity. If you do something once and that's it for fun or whatever. Let's think about us as a teenagers, right? We are all 12 years old here. I'm going to do something to irritate you today, and that was fun, right? Is right? No, it's not right. But that was a very punctual thing. But I had so much fun that I decided to do that for you with you every day. So it became a nightmare for you. So yes, it is an obsession.
One thing I will there's a follow-up question from Elizabeth. I'm going to bring it up in a second, and I just want to say something else. The It all comes down to monitoring your thoughts, because the same way that you need to monitor your thoughts just to make sure you're not under the influence of anything that's not you, that's not coming from you, to identify if you're obsessing someone, you can understand if how repetitive are specific thoughts that you direct to a person, right?
Mhm.
Is the thoughts for that person coming like frequently and is always the same, and is always the same, and then again you think about that. That's also, if you the repetition is an element that is linked to obsession, I think, especially in the developing phase, like before it becomes something might be more established. When it's establishing itself, I think the repetition is a good thing to keep in mind. Based on what you said, Guilherme, Elizabeth is asking, can we talk more about self-obsession? And before I pass the mic to you, I want to bring another passage from the book, from Yvonne, because that was the main book I was reading for today, to be honest. And of course, it's a bit more extreme, but we have examples of spirits that were very attached to specific situations. Maybe they were obsessing someone, or maybe they were just attached to very specific things from their previous lives, things they did not want to let go, from a material perspective, from a pride perspective, from assets they had, or from relationships they had, or people they decided to um, get revenge from. And they get into a process where they are completely blind and obsessed with that. They might be taken to be prepared to their next reincarnation as a last resource and an ultimate resource to force them to break that pattern, to break those connections and link and this obsession with those ideas or relationships, and move on with their literal lives. Um, However, once they grow up and so on and become a new person, let's say, their spirit might still have the reflections of what they were stuck to. And sometimes that reflection from their previous lives influence and bring repetitive, constant thoughts that keep invading their minds and suggesting them to do things and get involved in different things and so on. And it could be that this is actually not something coming from another spirit, but something coming from themselves. As an example, Guilherme, go on.
Yeah, let me play with the time here. All right.
Yeah.
I will answer that question from Elizabeth, but before I want to go to Spiritism in Estonia. I don't know who you are, but let me, I guess, let me be very direct in regards to that. Not everything is related to the spirits. And we do have an obligation to eliminate everything else, anything else, before I consider is something related with the spirits. In your description, for example, the light is blinking. You may have a power cut. For milliseconds, you may have a light bulb with problems. I'm not saying it is. I'm just elaborating the question, the answer. And you said that something is flying on you. Perhaps you were sitting in a chair and that thing was in a shelf that was not properly sitting in a shelf, and a little bit of wind, it dropped. So you have to analyze every single case to eliminate what is natural, what is related to normal things from day to day, to what is a spirit. If you are able to eliminate all the other possibilities, could be a manifestation of physical effects, not directly constitute an obsession case, right? Why I decide to go to that question before Elizabeth? Because a period in my life, we used to collect data of all the cases that used to come to our Spiritist Center. And the great majority of people come to the Spiritist Center saying, I am obsessed. I have a spirit behind me all the time. All right? Yes, but I am obsessed. Who told you that? I know. I know. Or someone told me, right? So we start to do like a friendly conversation, start with a friendly conversation, prepare an analysis of the case to understand, to see how we can help. And I think I can tell you that 95% of the cases, there was no obsession at all. 1% of the cases, yes, there was self-obsession. And 1% of the cases were truly an obsession case. Right? So now I'm going to Elizabeth. How can I understand what a self-obsession is? Anything we do that create any harm to ourselves, and if we do that with a frequency, this is a self-obsession. This is a self-obsession. To the point that it's complicated to identify what is a self-obsession and what is one of the other diseases described by the medicines, by the doctors, right? So let me give an example of self-obsession here. I cannot travel before I go to the church and start to pray every day. And I travel every day. But before I travel, I need to go to the church and pray. The day that, for any reason, I could not go to the church and pray before I travel, if something goes wrong, I will attribute that to a spirit. And then from that moment onwards, I definitely have to go every day to do that. I'm just trying to create like a figure here to give like an idea. We start a self-obsession case with very small things. And then if I do have any syndrome, like talk or a few other things, it comes together and then can become something more complicated. But I think that's it. You need to think about something that is not positive to you, and you become addicted to do that to you. That would be a self-obsession.
I have a question, I think, for both of you, which is
Yeah.
why do people think that they are being obsessed? Why do you think that's a common thing that brings people to the center? Let's start with Pablo.
Good.
Yeah. I'm not the specialist, so I can give.
I'm not a specialist.
I can give the intel from the crowd's perspective. I think that there is a natural tendency of whenever things start to go wrong, not going in the right way, or you don't seem to find a reason that could be applied to what's happening to your life or to someone that you like, that you love, and that is under suffering pressure and not behaving the way they should, and you don't seem to find something that could be reasonable to justify that. I think that's a pretty fair starting point.
Yeah.
Is it me now?
Yeah, Guilherme, go.
It's nice to have more people here. And there's something very simple. I'm always right. I don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Blame culture. Have you ever heard about that? I will blame everything and anything else but me.
Mm-hmm.
So I blame the spirits. Yes, I blame the spirits for something that I am doing. I blame the spirits for my own choices. I blame the spirits for my own doing. And it's way better because like that, it's not me. It's not me. So I think we have both situations, what Pablo said and what I'm saying. Right.
This is exactly what Faye was saying. She said, not everything that does not suit our plans is the result of an obsession, surely. How can you tell the difference? I think that's exactly where the point we just got to. Um, and self-obsession is still going on in the comments. I'm going to bring a bit more of them here.
Let me just say something here before we miss it.
Yeah.
Right? How can we? Let me just move here so I can read again the question for Faith because I missed it here. Yeah. Oops. Okay. How can we tell the difference? Well, we need to study. We need to read. We need to be very attentive. We need to know ourselves better. So when we compile cases, when we compile experiences, and when we know ourselves better, we are better prepared to identify an obsession case within our family or ourselves. I think that would be the first thing to do. And how thin is the margin between an obsession and one disease? How thin is the margin of an obsession and a self-obsession? It's very thin. So we need to be prepared to identify, to deal with, and to treat it.
And I yeah, you say like we have to know ourselves, and linking this to what Rafael was saying previously, like we have to have some kind of policy of like we have to watch our thoughts and avoid to be getting to vibrate in a way that we will get connected to someone that will means no good. But I think that we have to understand through study what is considered to be good thoughts, what's considered to be acceptable, and not like because we live in a society that is permissive or yeah. So I think that if we don't educate ourselves to understand what is the line, so it becomes harder to exercise this watching my thoughts.
Pablo, when we were kids, let's think about when we were 3 years old. If I put my finger on the power socket, I would do that only once.
Yeah.
Why?
I learn.
We all know what is right, what is not right. We pretend we do not know. We all do that. But we all know what is right, what is not right. The thing is to accept what is right and to become committed to do what is right. Because even when we are fully committed to do what is right, we still do things that we are not proud of. But that would be the first step. That would be the first step. And I would say that if we are honest, truly honest with ourselves, we know what is right or not. We may like to do things, but it doesn't mean it's right. It's not right for our spirit, for our soul. It's not right for our physical body. And we know it. There's enough information. But we prefer not to know. That's what I think. And I have a question for you guys now, because Rafael loves to make questions, but I want to make questions for you guys.
I'm ready.
How can we protect ourselves from an obsession case? And now that I am in an obsession case, I'm deeply inside an obsession case, what should I do?
I will let Pablo go first because that's the polite thing to do.
Yes, he's the guest. Yes.
Well, first of all, the anchor is prayer. So prayer is a powerful instrument. And when we are reading, like we were in our study earlier, a prayer dedicated to asking God and the benefactors to help us get rid of an obsession. So prayer is an anchor. So we should have it present in our life with meaning. Not reading, not just like saying words, but having a deep meaning in our hearts. And we have to try to make our environment healthier, and the gospel in our household. This is something that helps a lot to clear the environment. So doing it in a nice frequency will help as well. So I think these are good starts.
100%. I think I agree with Pablo. Think let's go through the mechanism, right? If we are saying that obsession comes and starts because of this power of thought and the link between the thought of a spirit and your thought and so on, and an imposition of that over your thoughts, you have to break that. So if it's, Guilherme is talking about, like if it's in the beginning, just by not allowing that to be installed, by switching your thoughts another way, praying is a good way of doing that, accessing a different type of energy and so on. That's definitely a good one. And any other thing that would take your thoughts or your ideas or away from that specific thought. Once it's a more established, let's say, first of all, I think your will, right? The person needs to want your understanding of the situation. Will give you the ammunition again to try to fix it. You need to want for that situation to heal. And this situation, you need to look at the situation as not you are a victim of some spirit who is obsessing you. You are both victims. The spirit who is obsessing you is also a suffering spirit. I'm sure they have the reasons for doing what they're doing, and they need help as well. So looking from that perspective will kind of guide us and help us to, first of all, on our prayers, ask for forgiveness. And based on what we understand and learn, we need to change our behaviors, get involved with different things, change what we're doing and so on, to demonstrate and help the, I guess, education process as well for the obsessing spirit, so they can come to the realization that that's probably a waste of time on both of their sides and it's not making anybody happy. And I would definitely say that depending on the case, you need the help of someone else, a spiritist center and so on, to help guide that separation and the education of the spirit so they can move on with their lives. One last point. I know I'm usually not very succinct. I'll be quick. Whenever we're talking about spiritual relationships, we always talk about the moral um, imperative, let's say, which is for you to be able to talk. I'm going to put in very simple words: talk sense into a spirit and kind of impose not the right word, help them see things a different way. You need to be able to come from a place of a better moral stand than where they are. And how do you do that? By living your life in a charitable way, following Jesus and so on. So that's why sometimes the whole transformation of your own self is important, and then the help of someone else that can guide that path. Go, Guilherme.
I have to add something. You said that the person should try to find a spiritist center. Yeah, that would be ideal because we are more familiar with spirits, right? But they are not everywhere. So in that case, psychologist. In that case, someone that's more spiritualized, someone that will give you moral support. And through the moral support, things will get slowly to a different pace and will get better. Okay. And let me go because time is urging now. I would
Yeah.
like to give an answer to Olga. Olga, it does not constitute an obsession case, what you described, right? She described that, no, this is Elizabeth. I'm coming to this one as well. So, uh, Olga, she's describing the lights and things like that, especially when she thinks about a friend that has moved on. So,
Right.
but we have to let them follow their path. Every time when we think about someone that is discarnated, we connect ourselves to them. If that comes with a high frequency, we need to pay attention on this, right? Because could evolve to a more serious case. So what I would recommend when you feel the need, make a prayer for that friend, for that spirit, wishing all the best to them, and that's it. Don't talk about it too much. Don't invite them to come back that often because that's not positive, not for you and not for him or her. I don't remember if it's he or she. So now let me go to Olga.
No, that was
So
Olga.
now Elizabeth. Sorry, I'm
Hey,
confused today. Elizabeth, OCD is a disorder, right? With a very thin margin. It is a disorder that could be potentialized by an obsession case. So we have to treat a disorder as a disorder. When you have to be attentive, there isn't something else on top of it adding into the problem, right? So some cases you have to treat both the disorder with the doctors, psychologists, and else, and the spiritual case with can handle the spirit, who can handle the spirit. As we have 45 seconds and decreasing, I need to say something else as well, right?
we can stay a bit longer. It's okay.
I
Okay.
know we won't be able to finish today in time, right? uh, we have to address mild obsession case as soon as we identify or is identified by someone else. Reason being, it may progress, evolve, and become a bigger problem. If it is not treated, what has to be treated, and treated may sounds like a bad word for that. If you don't give the right attention and we try to fix what has to be fixed, it may evolve to something more serious, to the point that our physical body may feel the reflex of it. Sometimes We can act upon it in time, and we can fix that. But if we leave that for too long, sometimes the physical effect becomes permanent. So it can happen to anyone. We don't need to be ashamed of it. What we need is to ask for help. When we ask for help, there are professionals that can help. There are spiritists, spiritualists. There are lots of people that can help. What we shouldn't do is to stay in our little world, afraid about asking any help because I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed. Don't do it. Don't do it because it's more common than you think, and you deserve to be treated. There was something else that I don't remember anymore now. Any other question?
Before there was some comment, there were a few comments and questions, but I think before you go in, I'm going to say that we will pick up the same subject next time because there's definitely interest.
Next time we have to do something very special. We have a party here, 1 year.
Okay, we will do a special obsession party.
Very good.
But yeah, there are a few comments here that I think is important. Like Ebony mentioned something about suicide. Nancy mentioned something about serious case of obsession. So there's a lot to talk. Okay.
Suicide is very important to talk about it. When we start to have suicidal thoughts, we are never alone. Never. When we start to have this kind of thoughts, we lower our vibrations. When we do that, we attract those spirits that want us to commit suicide, or the spirits who are somewhere along the line connected to us because of our past and think that's the best thing to happen. So, yes, I'm not saying that's always what terminates the situation with a death, but we are never alone. Never alone. So, if you are having suicidal thoughts, and we don't have time to elaborate about the consequences of suicidal situations here today, but if you are having suicidal thoughts, I beg you to look for help now. Because I'm 100% confident that you are not alone. Because you broke your shield, your protections. And when we do that, spirits will come and they will push you. And sometimes they can be even more responsible than yourself to terminate your life. So don't play with that. If you are having suicidal thoughts, there are professionals. Here in UK, there is a number, I forgot now, that you can dial asking for help. Don't waste your time. I'm pretty sure that we have people from different countries here, but I'm pretty sure there is also professional assistance in your country. I'm pretty sure you can find moral support in your country. So don't play with that. Because consequences are not nice.
And you can rebuild your protection again. So it's just there's help available for you to do that. You can do it. Right. That was very good. And again, there's so much food for next episodes that I think you should just pick up next time on the same kind of topic.
That's fine.
And maybe Pablo will become a recurrent apparition here, like a guest that becomes an anchor.
Well, that topic was brought from Pablo, so he's the guilty for it. So he has to be here next time as well,
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm asking to work, so
there you go. Here's another opportunity.
Thank you for making this possible today. It was really something.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for joining us and bringing the topic. And before I go to the announcements, I'm going to say thank you to everyone who participated. There was a lot of participation today. So I'm going to say everybody's name. Thank you, Elsa. Thank you, Ebony. Thank
Oh
you,
my
Faye.
God.
Thank
I
you,
saw
Nancy.
I saw a question from Nancy about ovoid. Oh, that's
Yes,
next time.
next time. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Kirsten, to join us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope to see you in a couple of weeks. And if you're interested in what's next, let me give you this the usual. Next Tuesday, we have the study of the book Nosso Lar, or Astral City, with Guilherme. So one Tuesday you have time to talk, the other Tuesday you have Astral City, and we kind of intercalate. Um, we have our Mediums book online course on Saturdays. If you'd like to join, have the details there. Every week on Wednesdays, you have a coffee break with Kardec, hosted by Munir. And tomorrow you have Spiritual Light um, with this amazing group. And they all have a special guest. So tune in. With that, I want to say goodbye. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Guilherme. Thank you, Pablo. See you next
Thank you.
time.
See you in 2 weeks' time. Bye bye.
Yes. Bye bye.
Bye.